short story you're about to read is called A&P. It's written by John Updike, and it was written in 1961. Some things that you need to know about the story before we get started is, first of all, A&P. What does that mean? It stands for A&P, the grocery store chain. The title refers to the grocery store where Sammy, the main character, works. A&P is a grocery store that you may not be familiar with. It's a chain that still exists today, but was quite large and well known throughout the country in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. In the 1970s, A&P went through some struggles and had to kind of restructure and organize. Mostly where you see the A&Ps in existence today are on the West Coast, but they are throughout the country. Think of it in terms of a Kroger's, that size of a grocery store. In the 1960s, at the time that the story was written, America was in a pretty good place. If you were a high school graduate in the 1960s, you had options. You could go to college and be a professional person. Now, primarily, these were young, white, middle class, and upper class young men that went to college. Um, Women did go to college, but it was primarily to find a husband, not always to find a career. You also had the option after high school of going and getting a job, going to work. There were lots of options at that time for work. And when you think of the 1960s, you oftentimes think of the war in Vietnam or the counterculture that we refer to from the 1960s. But since this is early 61 and this is the New England setting, we're not really dealing with those issues. The main character, Sammy, in the story, is a 19-year-old young man working as a grocery store clerk at the A&P. This would have been a decent job. You wouldn't have gotten rich working there, but you could have made a living. You could have had a family and survived with on that one income at that time. Again, later in the 1970s, the A&P has to restructure primarily because of high wages that they were paying their employees. One of the characters in the story is, in fact, a young man who is married with two small children and working at the A&P with aspirations to be the store manager. We refer to this story quite often as a coming-of-age story, and that's because the main character, Sammy, goes through a change. This is also a story that is the duration of the story in real time probably only lasts about 10 to 15 minutes. It's a slice of life, a glimpse into this young man. We know really nothing about him as we're reading the story other than the fact that he is a young man. He has all those same normal interests of a 19-year-old man when he sees three girls walk into the grocery store in nothing but their bathing suits. That will catch his attention. The girls, as you can imagine, are looked at, examined by the young men in the store, and the housewives at the time who are shopping in the store are appalled at the way they are dressed. Even today, you wouldn't often see young girls walk into a grocery store in just a bathing suit, and especially with no shoes on. That is a health code violation now. So, after you read the story, there'll be some questions for you to answer. I hope you enjoy the story. It's one of my favorites. I hope that you, in particular, look at some of the phrasing and the way that Updike uses language to give us an interesting take on who Sammy is and this little slice of life from 1961 New England. Um, the the ending in particular is something that we're going to focus on after you're done reading. I hope you enjoy it.